Hello everyone. Today I want to show you how to easily and above all else quickly visualize some data with Gnuplot in C or C++ in Windows. Sometimes it can be beneficial to be able to quickly visualize the output of a small C program, similar to, for example, MATLAB's plot function. And in order to do so, we first need to download Gnuplot, of course, and add its bin path to the environment variable, which is either done during the installation process or you can do it yourself manually. Gnuplot itself is not a library but a separate command line plot program that we can then simply pipe commands to from our C program and visualize our data. So let's get right to it. So let's start with getting Gnuplot. You can find Gnuplot on gnuplot.info, and at the top of the page there is the link to the downloads, and then we have to follow the link to the primary download site on SourceForge, which leads us to this webpage. On this webpage we have a directory with a ton of different folders and Gnuplot versions, and the latest versions for Gnuplot are of course always available for Linux, and if we want to get a Windows system or a Windows installer, a Windows version, we have to search for the latest version that's available for Windows. And at the moment I think it's 5.2. If we visit this folder, we can then download the win64 min.gw.exe and download Gnuplot. So after you've installed Gnuplot, we have to make sure that the bin folder is added to the system path environment variable, and there are two ways to get there. First is you can edit, or you can hit your Windows key, then enter edit the system environment variables and hit enter. Or you can right click on your computer item, go to properties and then go to advanced system settings. And this should give you following window here. And in this window you can hit environment variables. And hitting environment variables should give you this window, and in the environment variable window we have system variables down here, and here are the path variables. Then we can enter edit, and hitting edit will lead us to this window, and there we can see we have the Gnuplot binary folder added. Now that we have made sure that the binary folder is added or is part of the system path environment variable, we can open up a command line, and then we should be able to just enter Gnuplot, and there we go. We have version 5.2 installed and everything's working as expected. So let's fire up our favorite editor. I'm just going to create a new file. I'm just going to call it main.c. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a few very simple data points. We're going to write them to file, then we pipe commands to Gnuplot and visualize set file or set data with Gnuplot. So let's start. Of course we have to write to file, so we have to include standard IO, and let's start our function, just return 0. We have simple XY data. We need a file pointer for our output file. We need a stream for our GNU pipe, and we're going to need some commands that we are going to pipe to Gnuplot. We're going to complete them later on. Just going to leave it open for now. So let's first open a file. We call it data.temp. The name is not really relevant, and we are going to open it with W. And what W does is, if the file does not exist, it will create a new file, and if the file already exists, it will delete the old file and create a new file. And we can also open up our pipe. We are using Windows, so we are going to use _popen. If you're under Linux, you would probably just use popen. And we are going to use the command gnuplot -persistent, and we want to write to that stream. And what -persistent does is that the Gnuplot window will stay open after our C program has already finished, so that we can take a look at our data, of course. So let's create a loop for our data. We're just going to create 10 data points and increment, of course. There we go. We write to our data. Start with 0. We write to our file pointer. We write 2 integers divided by a white space. We have x over y, and then we just increment our data. There we go. And now we have to output or pipe our commands to Gnuplot. And we're just going to have 2 commands, that's why I am hard coding the 2. And the 2 commands are going to be, we want to set a title, let's call it demo. And the second thing we want to do, we have to tell Gnuplot to plot something, and we have to tell it what to plot. So we have to use the plot command, and our file is called data.temp, and that's already it. So we can just print to our pipe that we already have open, and we are going to plot strings, of course, and just use our GNU commands that we defined before. We only have 2 commands, and that's it. Of course, I did create a small typo up here, so let's fix that, and there we go. So now that everything's ready, let's take a quick look what we are actually doing in our program. We have our 2 variables x and y, and we have streams, the file that we want to write to, that is going to be our data, our output data of the program. We have a stream for our pipe and the commands that we want to send to Gnuplot or send to our pipe. Then we're of course opening our file. We're not checking if the file open did not work. Of course we could do that. Then we are opening our pipe that we are going to send our commands to. Then we have a short loop in which we are creating our data, just printing to our data.temp file. And last but not least, we are sending our commands to our pipe, and that's basically everything that's happening in this small little file. So let's switch to our command line and compile our program. As you can see, everything compiled without any problems. Then we can also execute our program, and this gives us this Gnuplot window in which our data is visualized. And in order to show you how our program interacted with Gnuplot, we can switch to the command line, and we can start Gnuplot itself, and then we can just enter the same commands that we piped to Gnuplot, and we have to tell Gnuplot what to visualize. And as you can see, we get the exact same window. Of course, I changed it a little bit. I set a new title in order to show you that is indeed how the program works. So I hope you enjoyed the video and have a nice day.